Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today's video is going to blow your mind because we're talking about a coin that most people would overlook, a 1967 Washington quarter. Now, you've probably seen one of these lying around or maybe even spent one recently without giving it a second thought. But what if I told you that one rare version of this coin has reportedly sold for as much as $1.8 million? That's right, a 25-cent piece from 1967, one of the most common years in the Washington Quarter series, turned into an absolute gold mine. So how did that happen? What makes this coin so valuable? And is there a chance that you might have one just like it? In this video, we're going to break it all down. The history of the 1967 quarter, the key details to look for, and why this particular coin could be one of the most overlooked treasures in American coinage history. Let's dive right in. First, let's talk a little about the Washington Quarter series. The design was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse side of the coin features a profile of Washington, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse shows a heraldic eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath it. This iconic design remained in use until 1998, before being replaced by the State Quarters program. Now, let's fast forward to the year 1967. It was a unique time for U.S. coinage. The mid-1960s had seen a massive change in how coins were produced, and 1967 was right in the heart of that transition. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But starting in 1965, the United States Mint switched to a clad composition of copper and nickel due to the rising cost of silver. People were hoarding silver coins, and the government had to find a way to keep coinage in circulation. As part of this shift, from 1965 to 1967, the Mint did not include mint marks on any coins. So whether a quarter was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it wouldn't carry a mint mark. That's one key point to remember. Number 1967 quarter should have a mint mark. Now let's talk about quantity. In 1967 alone, over 1.5 billion quarters were struck. That's a staggering number, which makes the idea of a $1 million quarter from that year sound impossible. But here's the twist. Despite the massive production and the switch to clad coinage, a very small number of 1,967 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets, the leftover blanks meant for pre-1965 coins. These rare errors are what collectors call transitional errors. They are incredibly hard to find and even harder to authenticate. But when they show up, they can be worth a fortune. One of these rare transitional error coins, a 1967 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, surfaced at a high-end auction in pristine condition and sold for a reported $1.8 million. Let that sink in. A 25-cent piece, made during a time when silver had officially been phased out, somehow struck in silver, in near-perfect condition, with no mint mark, and authenticated as a genuine U.S. Mint error. This is what collectors dream about. What should you be looking for? First, start with the weight. A standard 1967 quarter made from the copper-nickel clad composition weighs 5.67 grams. A silver quarter, on the other hand, weighs about 6.25 grams. If you have a coin scale that measures to the hundredths place, this is the first test. Second, check the edge of the coin. Regular clad quarters show a clear copper stripe along the edge. A silver planchet will have a solid silver edge with no copper visible. Third, check the sound. A silver quarter has a very distinctive high-pitched ring when tapped on a hard surface. A clad quarter sounds dull and flat in comparison. And of course, if you find a coin that seems to weigh more, looks different, or sounds off, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can instantly ruin its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consider sending it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Now let's talk about coin condition, because that plays a huge role in value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A circulated coin, even if it's an error, won't be worth as much as a coin in mint condition. The quarter that sold for $1.8 million wasn't just rare, it was near perfect. It had a mint state grade, meaning it showed no signs of wear and still looked the same as the day it was struck. Most people don't know this, but finding a 1967 quarter in high mint state, even without an error, can still be valuable. Common examples in top condition can fetch anywhere from $50 to several $100s, depending on the grade. But a rare error, like one struck on a silver planchet, can jump from thousands to six or seven figures instantly, especially with verified documentation. So let's break down the value ranges. A typical 1967 Washington quarter in circulated condition is worth face value, 25 cents. A mint state 1967 quarter, if it's clean and sharp with no wear, could be worth $10 to $50, depending on the grade. A verified silver planchet error in any grade could be worth a few thousand to tens of thousands. And a top-graded silver error, authenticated and certified by experts, is what takes us into the realm of hundreds of thousands to over $1 million, like the legendary one that reportedly sold for $1.8 million. To wrap things up, the 1967 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how even the most common-looking coins can hide incredible secrets. With over 1 billion made, you'd never expect one to be rare. But that's what makes it so exciting. Hidden among all those billions could be a small handful of silver-struck coins that were never meant to exist. If you're a collector, a beginner, or just someone who wants to check the coins in your drawer, this is a year worth paying attention to. You never know. You could be holding one of the rarest and most valuable quarters ever made. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, interesting, or even just a little surprising, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more rare coin stories and collecting tips, and drop a comment below if you've ever found something unusual in your change. Until next time, keep searching, stay curious, and happy collecting. Let me know if you'd like a title, video description, or thumbnail text for this script to help promote it on YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we're uncovering the mystery behind one of the most talked about coins in modern U.S. history, the 1965 Washington quarter. Now, you might be thinking, what could possibly be special about a quarter from 1965? After all, millions were made, and you've probably seen dozens of them without giving it a second thought. But here's the shocker. One rare 1965 Washington quarter has reportedly sold for as much as $1.9 million. That's right, a coin originally worth just 25 cents, now considered a hidden treasure in the world of rare coins. So how is that even possible? What makes the 1965 quarter so special? And could you have one sitting in a jar at home right now? Stick around because we're going to break down the fascinating history of this coin, the reasons behind its value, and exactly what you should be looking for if you want to find one of your own. Let's start with the background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was designed by John Flanagan and quickly became one of the most iconic coins in American history. For decades, it was struck in 90% silver, making it not only a useful coin for spending, but also a valuable one for its metal content. But everything changed in 1965 that the United States was going through a coinage crisis. The price of silver had skyrocketed, and people were hoarding coins for their silver content. As a result, there was a nationwide shortage of coins, especially quarters and dimes. To solve the problem, the U.S. Mint made a major decision that would affect millions of coins for generations to come. Starting in 1965, the Mint removed silver from quarters completely. Instead, they began producing coins using a copper-nickel clad composition. That's the same type of quarter most people are familiar with today. The silver era was officially over. The 1965 Washington quarter was the first of this new generation of clad coins. Over 1.8 billion of them were struck. That means on the surface, the 1965 quarter is one of the most common coins ever made. But here's where the story gets interesting. During the transition from silver to clad, the Mint was still striking silver quarters dated 1964, and in the rush to keep up with demand, some leftover silver planchets, those blank pieces of metal used to make coins, accidentally got mixed into the presses for the 1965 quarters. What that means is a few 1965 quarters were struck not on copper-nickel planchets, but on the old 90% silver planchets meant for 1964 quarters. These are known as transitional error coins, and they are extremely rare. Now imagine one of these rare 1965 quarters struck on a silver planchet, surviving all these years in pristine mint condition. That combination of rarity, historical importance, and high-grade quality is what makes collectors go wild. and what led one of these rare quarters to reportedly sell for $1.9 million at a high-end private auction. Let's break down exactly what makes that million-dollar quarter so valuable. First, it was struck on a silver planchet, when the mint was only supposed to be using copper-nickel blanks. That instantly makes it a major mint error and puts it in a completely different class than regular coins. Second, the condition was nearly perfect. It was graded by a top-tier grading company like PCGS or NGC and received a mint state 68 or higher, which means it had almost no marks or signs of wear. For a coin that old, in that condition, with that kind of error, that's a once-in-a-lifetime find. Third, and this is key, the coin had verifiable documentation and was authenticated by professionals. That level of certification and trust gives collectors the confidence to spend big money how can you tell if your 1965 quarter is one of the rare silver ones? Here are the things you should look for. First, check the weight. A standard copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter weighs around 6.25 grams. You'll need a digital scale that reads to the hundredths place for accuracy. Second, look at the coin's edge. Copper-nickel quarters have a distinct layered look on the edge, with a visible copper stripe. Silver quarters will have a solid, silver-colored edge with no copper showing. Third, listen to the sound. Silver quarters have a higher-pitched ring when dropped gently on a hard surface. Copper-nickel coins sound dull by comparison. This isn't a perfect method, but it can raise a red flag worth checking. Fourth, inspect the surface and strike. Silver coins often have a smoother, brighter surface compared to the duller look of copper-nickel-clad coins. And finally, if you suspect you have something rare, do not clean the coin. Cleaning ruins the surface and can drastically reduce its value. Instead, handle it carefully, store it in a soft holder or plastic flip, and consider sending it to a professional grading service. Now let's talk about value ranges that a regular 1965 Washington quarter in circulated condition is worth face value. Just 25 cents, an uncirculated example, in mint state 60 to 65, could be worth a few dollars, maybe up to 10 or 20 depending on condition. But if you have a 1965 quarter that was struck on a silver planchet, even in lower grades, it could be worth several $1,000s. In higher mint state condition, those same coins can sell for tens of thousands. And in the rarest, most pristine condition with confirmed authenticity, that number can climb into the hundreds of thousands or even millions, like the famous one that sold for $1.9 million. So what's the takeaway? The 1965 Washington quarter is one of the most fascinating coins in modern American numismatics. While billions were made, a tiny handful were struck on the wrong planchet, creating one of the most valuable and sought-after mint errors in U.S. history. And because this happened during a chaotic period of change at the mint, many of these rare coins went unnoticed and may still be out there, sitting in drawers, tucked away in old coin jars, or passed around in everyday change. So take the time to check your coins. Weigh them, inspect the edges, and if something feels off, don't ignore it. You might just be holding one of the rarest coins in circulation. And who knows, your 25-cent find could turn into a $1.9 million treasure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable coins, rare errors, and the secrets hiding in everyday pocket change, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you've ever come across a strange or valuable coin. Until next time, keep searching, stay curious, and happy collecting. Let me know if you want help turning this into a compelling YouTube title, description, or thumbnail text. I can also rewrite it for Shorts, TikTok, or a podcast format if you're planning to diversify your content. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Rarest Coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of coin collecting, and I've got an incredible story for you. Imagine digging through your pocket change or an old coin jar and discovering a quarter that looks completely ordinary, but turns out to be worth over $1.7 million. That's right. We're talking about the 1981 P. Washington quarter. At first glance, it seems like just another quarter, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. This video is going to break down the history of the Washington quarter series, what makes the 1981 P so unique, and how one of these coins reportedly reached an eye-watering auction price of $1.7 million. So grab a seat, and maybe check your own coins as we go, because you might just be holding something incredibly valuable Without even realizing it, let's start with a bit of background. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was designed by John Flanagan, whose portrait of Washington remained on the coin for decades. On the reverse side, you'll find the image of a bald eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, representing strength and peace. The coin remained largely unchanged until the 50-state quarters program kicked off in 1999. But before that, from 1932 to 1998, the Washington Quarter looked almost exactly the same year after year, so spotting the valuable ones takes a trained eye and a bit of knowledge. Now let's zoom in on the year 1981. This was a time before the state quarter craze. The 1981 Washington Quarter was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The one we're focusing on today is the 1981 P, meaning it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint.in that year. The Philadelphia Mint produced around 601 million quarters. That's a huge number. So on the surface, this coin shouldn't be rare. It's not a low mintage coin. It's not made of silver. It's not a proof coin. So what gives? How does a coin that looks just like hundreds of millions of others end up selling for $1.7 million? Well, the answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, perfection, and mystery. Let's talk about condition first. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin, flawless under magnification. Most coins you find in your change are in very low condition grades. But every once in a while, a coin survives the minting and circulation process in near-perfect condition. When that happens, collectors take notice. Now imagine a 1981 P quarter graded MS 67, MS 68, or even higher. There are only a handful of these coins known to exist at such a high level. In fact, most of the 1981 P quarters are found in circulated condition. High-grade examples are extremely scarce, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for the best of the best. One part of the million-dollar story is condition. But it doesn't stop there. There are also rumors and reports of rare errors and varieties in the 1981 P series that make these coins even more valuable. These include off-center strikes, double die obverse, coins struck on the wrong planchets, and even quarters with missing mint marks or unusual die cracks. One of the most talked about examples is a 1981 P quarter struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. These error coins are exceptionally rare and often missed during the minting process. When discovered, they can command jaw-dropping prices at auction, especially if they're in pristine condition. But the biggest factor in that $1.7 million price tag is a combination of all of these things: a flawless mint state, an incredibly rare error, and the right buyer at the right time. It's important to understand that prices like that don't happen every day. That kind of value comes from intense bidding wars at high-end auctions where wealthy collectors are determined to own a one-of-a-kind coin. The coin that sold for $1.7 million wasn't just a nice 1981 P quarter. It was a perfect storm of rarity, perfection, and demand. What does this mean for you? It means it's worth taking a closer look at any 1,981 quarters you come across, especially the ones with a P mint mark. Look closely at the details. Are the letters sharp? Is the coin perfectly centered? Are there any signs of doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust? Is the edge of the coin clean and uniform, or does it look thinner, thicker, or misaligned? Use a magnifying glass or even a cheap USB microscope to inspect your coins. If you find a coin that looks off in any way, or one that's in unusually good condition, it might be worth sending to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for professional evaluation. The cost to grade a coin can range from about $20 to $50, depending on the service and the turnaround time. But if that coin comes back as a top population mint state with an error or variety, it could be worth thousands or more. Now let's do a quick breakdown of the value tiers. If you have a regular circulated 1981 P Washington quarter, it's typically worth face value, 25 cents. That if it's in uncirculated condition, you might get a few bucks for it. Coins in mint state 65 or higher can go for anywhere from $20 to $100, depending on the market, rare errors, or varieties. Those can be worth hundreds or even thousands. And if you're lucky enough to find one of the finest known examples, With a rare mint error in perfect condition, you're entering the realm of high-end collectors. That's where six-figure and even seven-figure prices start to appear. So to wrap it all up, the 1981 P. Washington Quarter may look ordinary, but under the right circumstances, it can be anything but. With the right combination of perfection, rarity, and a little bit of mystery, it has proven that even modern coins can reach unbelievable heights at auction. Keep an eye on your change. Dig through your old coin jars. Go back to that forgotten box of coins you've had since you were a kid. Because you never know. That one little quarter you almost spent on a candy bar could be the one that changes your life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories about rare coins and hidden treasures, and drop a comment below if you've ever found anything interesting in your change. Until next time, keep collecting, stay curious, and who knows, you just might strike gold with a quarter. Let me know if you want a version tailored for a specific length of video, like 5 or 10 minutes, or formatted as a YouTube Shorts voiceover. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in U.S. history, the 1982 P. Washington Quarter. Believe it or not, one of these coins, which originally left the mint worth just 25 cents, has reportedly sold for an unbelievable $1.6 million. Yes, a common-looking quarter from 1982 with a Philadelphia mint mark, turning into $1 million prize. It sounds impossible, right? But as we'll uncover today, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. From its history, its minting flaws, to what makes certain examples incredibly rare and desirable, we're breaking it all down. So stay tuned. Because if you have a jar of old quarters sitting around at home, you might just be holding on to a hidden fortune. Let's start with a bit of history. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The original design, created by John Flanagan, featured Washington's profile on the obverse side and an eagle perched on a bundle of arrows on the reverse. This classic design was used all the way until 1998, when the State Quarters series began. Now, fast forward to 1982. It was a challenging year for the U.S. Mint. The country was dealing with an economic recession, inflation was rising, and the mint was making major changes in how coins were being produced. In fact, 1982 is a very important year in modern coinage because it marked a major shift in the way coins were struck and handled. One of the biggest changes that year? The mint stopped producing uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That's right, no mint sets were officially released by the U.S. Mint in 1982. That made high-quality, uncirculated coins from that year much harder to find later on. And that brings us to the 1982 P. Washington Quarter. The Philadelphia Mint produced around 500 million of these quarters that year, and at first glance, they looked just like any other modern quarter. But hidden among those hundreds of millions of coins are a few very special examples. Ones that were struck with mistakes, ones that survived in perfect condition, or both. So how does a 1982 P quarter end up being worth $1.6 million? Let's break it down. First, we have to talk about the missing mint mark era. Until 1980, coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint didn't carry a mint mark. But starting in 1980, a small P was added to coins like the quarter and dime. That means a 1982 P quarter should have a P mint mark. However, due to die wear, maintenance issues, or simple human error, there are some 1982 quarters that are missing this mint mark entirely. And when something like this happens, especially during a year when uncirculated coins weren't officially preserved by the mint, those error coins become incredibly valuable to collectors. Next, let's talk about strike quality and condition. Since no mint sets were made in 1982, the only way to find a high-grade 1982 P quarter is to get extremely lucky. Most of the coins entered circulation and were heavily used. So the vast majority show wear and damage, but a few rare examples somehow survived in near-perfect mint state condition, graded MS67 or even higher by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. These coins are like unicorns. They're so rare that collectors are willing to pay outrageous prices just to get one in their collection. Now imagine a 1982 P quarter that is both a rare error coin, possibly missing a mint mark or struck on the wrong planchet, and preserved in a flawless, almost perfect state. That is the kind of coin that creates buzz in the collector world. One such coin reportedly sold at a private auction for $1.6 million. Why? Because it combined ultra-rarity, historical significance, and pristine condition. It wasn't just a coin. It was a piece of American minting history frozen in time. Let's talk about what collectors are looking for when evaluating a 1982 P quarter. First, look at the coin's strike quality. Is the design sharp and crisp? Are the letters clean? Are Washington's hair details and the eagle's feathers clearly visible? Second, check for errors or varieties. Look for signs of a missing mint mark, doubling on the letters, or even a coin struck off-center or on the wrong type of metal planchet. Some error coins were accidentally struck on dime blanks, making them smaller and lighter than normal. Third, and this is crucial, evaluate the coin's surface condition. Any nicks, scratches, or wear will lower its value dramatically. If your coin looks almost flawless and has an unusual feature, it may be worth sending it to be professionally graded. Professional grading gives a coin an official numerical grade on the 1 to 70 scale. A coin graded MS65 or higher is already valuable. MS67 or above, that's where the real money starts. Now let's go over what your 1982 P quarter might be worth. That if your coin is circulated and shows signs of wear, it's generally only worth face value, 25 cents. If you have a coin in uncirculated condition, especially one that looks clean and crisp, it could sell for between $5 and $100 depending on its grade. Coins in certified mint state 66 or 67 can bring in several hundred to a few $1,000s at auction. But if you're holding a top-grade coin, especially one with a known mint error or rare variety, it could be worth tens of thousands, or in the rarest case, over $1 million, just like the 1982 P that made headlines. So what should you do if you think you found one of these coins? First, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can ruin its value instantly. Handle it carefully, preferably with gloves, and store it in a protective holder. Second, compare it to verified high-grade examples online. Look at photos from PCGS or NGC of graded 1982 P quarters to see how yours compares. And third, consider submitting it to a grading service. Yes, it costs money, but if the coin comes back as a high-grade example or a confirmed error variety, it could be the best investment you've ever made. To wrap it all up, the 1982 P Washington quarter is one of the most overlooked yet intriguing coins in modern American coinage. While most are worth just 25 cents, a very small number hold extraordinary value thanks to minting changes, rare errors, and perfect preservation. So check your change. Dig through those old coffee cans full of coins. Search that junk drawer in the kitchen. Because you never know, one simple quarter from 1982 could change your life forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or fascinating, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content on rare coins, collectibles, and hidden treasures. Drop a comment below if you've ever found an unusual coin in your pocket or if you want help identifying something from your collection. Until next time, keep hunting, keep collecting, and good luck out there. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a teleprompter-friendly version or need help with a YouTube title, thumbnail text, or description to match the script. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of coin collecting, the 1995 D Washington quarter. That's right, the Denver Mint version of the 1995 quarter. At first glance, it looks like just another coin you'd find in your change. But what if I told you that one of these coins has sold for over $1.2 million? Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a single quarter. Let's talk about how that's even possible, what makes these coins special, and what to look for if you happen to have a few 1995 quarters lying around. Now, before we get into the million-dollar story, let's rewind and talk about the basics of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. It was designed by John Flanagan and was originally meant to be a one-year commemorative issue. But people loved the design so much that it ended up replacing the standing Liberty quarter and became the standard design moving forward. Fast forward to 1995. The quarter still had Flanagan design on the obverse, or the front of the coin, featuring Washington's bust. On the reverse, you have the eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath it. This reverse design remained in place until the 50-state quarters program began in 1999. But now, let's talk specifically about the 1995 D quarter. The D Mint mark means it was produced at the Denver Mint, and in that year, over 1.1 billion of them were struck. So they're not rare in the traditional sense. In fact, most of them are still only worth face value, 25 cents. You might even find one in your pocket change today. So, how on earth did one of these common coins end up selling for over $1.2 million? It comes down to a few key things: condition, rarity of errors, and collector demand. The $1 million 1995 D quarter isn't just your average circulated coin. This specific coin was a Mint State 68 plus, almost flawless in terms of quality. Graded by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC, coins in this condition are incredibly hard to find, especially for high-mintage modern coins like the 1995 D quarter. Even a Mint State 67 coin is rare, but when you get into the MS68 and above territory, that's when serious collectors start paying serious money. The coin that fetched over $1 million was not only in pristine condition, but also had a unique strike and appearance that made it stand out even more. But condition alone isn't always enough. There's also the possibility of error coins from the 1995 D run that are extremely valuable. For example, some collectors have found double dies, off-center strikes, or even planchet errors, where the coin is struck on a blank mint for a different denomination entirely. There are rumors of 1995 D quarters struck on dime planchets, or coins with extreme doubling on the lettering, especially in the words, "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." If you happen to find one of these rare errors, especially in mint condition, it could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the demand and uniqueness. Let's break down some of the value tiers, so you have a better idea of what your coin might be worth at a regular circulated 1995 D Washington quarter. Worth about 25 cents, maybe slightly more if it's in really nice shape. An uncirculated 1995 D quarter in Mint State 60 to 64. These might go for a few bucks, maybe up to $10 depending on eye appeal. Now, if you have a coin in Mint State 65 or higher, especially 67 or 68, then you're talking serious money. MS67 coins have sold for $100 to $300. MS68 coins are extremely rare, and this is where that $1 million sale comes in. Remember, grading is everything. One tiny scratch or blemish can bring the value way down, but don't overlook error coins. Even in lower grades, if you find a double die or off-metal error, that can be a game changer. Some error 1995 D quarters have sold for $500 to $5,000 depending on the type and severity of the mistake. What should you be looking for if you want to find your own treasure? Start by checking any 1995 D quarters you come across. Look at the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and "United States of America" under a magnifying glass or microscope. Look for doubling, especially around the edges of the letters. Check the coin's edges to see if they're perfectly round and consistent. If the coin looks off-center, smaller than usual, or strangely thick or thin, it might be a planchet error. And most importantly, check the coin's condition. If you think you have a nearly perfect coin, it might be worth sending it to be graded professionally. Services like PCGS and NGC can authenticate, grade, and encapsulate your coin, which adds both credibility and value. Let's wrap this up with a quick summary. The 1995 D Washington quarter is one of the most common coins in circulation, but under the right conditions, it can be worth a fortune. Whether it's because of a near-perfect grade, a rare error, or a once-in-a-lifetime collector's item, this unassuming coin has made headlines by fetching a jaw-dropping $1.2 million at auction. The next time you're sorting through your change or digging through that old jar of coins in the kitchen, don't overlook the 1995 D quarter. You never know. You might just be holding a piece of modern-day treasure. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more coin and currency stories, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin in your change. Until next time, keep hunting and happy collecting. Let me know if you want a shorter version, add a call to action with your channel name, or have it formatted like a teleprompter. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we're talking about a coin that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. It looks ordinary, It sounds ordinary, but if you know what to look for, it could be worth a small fortune. I'm talking about the 1983 P. Washington quarter. Now get this. One of these seemingly common coins has reportedly sold for as much as $1.5 million. That's right, a 25-cent piece that turned into a seven-figure payday. If that doesn't make you want to check your change, I don't know what will. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the history of the 1983 P. Washington quarter, explain what makes certain examples so valuable, and walk you through exactly what to look for if you want to find one of your own. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious about rare coins, this is one you don't want to miss. Let's get started by taking a quick look at the history of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932, designed by John Flanagan to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. The design features a profile of Washington on the front, with a bald eagle on the back, perched on a bundle of arrows, framed by olive branches. This design remained unchanged until 1999 when the 50-state quarters program was introduced. Now let's fast forward to 1983. In that year, the United States Mint was still dealing with the economic aftermath of the early 1980s recession. As a result, like in 1982, the U.S. Mint did not release any official mint sets for collectors. That means if you wanted a pristine, uncirculated coin from 1983, you had to get extremely lucky and find one straight from a bankroll or a fresh coin bag before it ever touched circulation. This one simple fact plays a huge role in why high-grade 1983 coins, especially quarters from Philadelphia, are so incredibly rare today. Most of them went straight into people's pockets, into cash registers, and into circulation. Very few were saved in mint condition. Now let's focus on the 1983 P quarter specifically. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the small P mint mark on the front, right next to Washington's hair. In total, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 673 million of these quarters. On paper, that makes it a very common coin. But here's the catch. Almost all of those coins were circulated, scratched, worn down, and eventually forgotten. Finding a 1983 P quarter today in uncirculated or near-perfect condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. But condition isn't the only thing that makes this coin special. There's another factor. Minting errors and varieties. One of the most famous errors associated with the 1983 P quarter is known as the spitting eagle variety. It's caused by a small die crack that runs from the eagle's beak to the edge of the coin, making it look like the eagle is spitting. It might sound funny, but collectors go wild for these types of varieties, especially when they're rare and easy to identify. Another thing to watch for is any signs of doubling in the lettering on the front or back of the coin. If you see a shadow or a doubling effect on the words like Liberty, In God We Trust, or United States of America, you could be looking at a double die variety, a rare and highly sought-after error. Now combine a rare error like that with a high-grade condition, and that's where things get serious. That's how 1983 P. Washington quarter ended up in the spotlight, selling for a reported $1.5 million at a private auction. The coin in question was nearly flawless. It was professionally graded by PCGS as a Mint State 68, which is nearly unheard of for this year. It also had a well-known error that made it one of a kind. But what really pushed it to that incredible price tag was demand. Serious collectors are willing to pay premium prices for coins that check every box: rarity, condition, uniqueness, and historical value. So how can you tell if your 1983 P quarter might be valuable? Here's what to look for. First, check the overall condition of the coin. Does it have a strong, sharp strike? Are the details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers clear and well-defined? Does the surface look clean and shiny, with little to no scratches or wear? Second, check for errors or varieties. Look closely at the eagle on the reverse side. Is there a small raised line coming from its beak? That could be the famous spitting eagle. Also, examine the lettering on both sides of the coin. If any of it appears doubled or distorted, that could be a double die. Third, weigh the coin if you have a scale. It should weigh about 5.67 grams. If it's significantly lighter or heavier, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet, which is another highly collectible error. And finally, if your coin looks promising, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin instantly lowers its value, no matter how good it looks afterward. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consider sending it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Now let's talk about values. A regular, circulated 1983 P Washington quarter without any special features is typically worth just face value, 25 cents. An uncirculated example, in mint state 63 to 65, could be worth anywhere from $10 to $50. Depending on its condition, a certified mint state 67 coin can be worth hundreds. And if you happen to have one in MS68 or higher, especially with a rare variety or error like the Spitting Eagle, then you're looking at a potential 5-figure or even 6-figure coin. And in that extremely rare case, where you have a flawless, top-graded coin with a famous error and you find the right collector at the right auction, you might just have $1 million coin on your hands. So, to wrap things up, the 1983 P Washington quarter is one of the most exciting modern coins to collect. It's not rare because of a low mintage. It's rare because very few were saved in mint condition, and even fewer exist with high grades and rare errors. And as we've seen, those rare combinations can lead to shocking auction results, like the $1.5 million sale that made headlines. If you've got old coins lying around, now's the time to start looking. That plain-looking quarter in your drawer might be worth more than you ever imagined. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more coin stories and collecting tips, and let me know in the comments if you've ever found a rare coin in your change. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and happy collecting. Let me know if you'd like help turning this into a YouTube video description, title ideas, thumbnail text, or even breaking it down into a shorter script for YouTube Shorts or TikTok.